That's true. More importantly, talking about the best team in football. Maybe not the best team, but we're working on it. We're on the right path. Seattle Seahawks had their first preseason game last night, and I'm not the biggest preseason guy. I know you're not either. But I will say the Seahawks over the last 2 years have one, they had a quarterback battle last year, which made it intriguing and a good rookie class. And then this year, again, another good rookie class. And some guys from last year's rookie class, like the Boye Mafes of the world, Kobe Bryant switching to safety, trying to see what some people on the offensive line look like. And on top of that, you had Jackson Smith and Jigba from this year's draft, Derek Hall, Mike Morris, Zach Charbonnet. The one thing about the Seahawks, despite being a good playoff team, that they had a lot of draft capital. And the one thing that's exciting about preseason when you're a young team, which, by the way, we're like the third youngest team in the NFL, I was seeing the other day, at least it gives preseason some juice, right? Like, let's see what some of these guys can do out there. So it's better than most seasons for me to watch a preseason game.
Yeah, boy, I like how you spun that there. I like last year, I could really tell you a reason to watch it because there's a quarterback battle. But I like how you spun it this year. You made preseason sound a lot more exciting for me than I previously would have thought. Like, I am excited to watch JSN, Mafe. Drew Lock played yesterday. I am just not a preseason guy. I can't get myself, like, I love reading the stories. I like to know who's the training camp battles, who's going to get that starting position. The Kobe Bryant news going to safety, I think, is very interesting because I don't really know, like, how much playing time is he going to get, right? Like, we do have abundance of safeties and corners. But overall, like, for me, preseason is just so hard because, for example, we saw JSN yesterday, right? And he was pretty dominant. But he was going against a lot of second stringers. I mean, he looked great. He looked like a beast in front of him. But we know he's not going to look like that against, NFL caliber corners. But he's still going to look good. I don't know. Preseason to me is just so hard for me to wrap my fingers around because I also know, like, if a quarterback goes off, he might be going off against second string corners and second string people going like pass rushers, for example. That's just my preseason take. For me, it's really hard to like get myself so immersed into preseason, but I do understand why a lot of people like it because you are going to find out who's going to be on the team. You are going to have some position battles for depth chart reasons. You're going to have a guy who wins a starting spot, but it's hard for me to really understand that watching the preseason game.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think you're looking at it the wrong perspective for this season. That's why I'm trying to help you with this season. At this point, there are certain times like where your team just came off of you're like one of the oldest teams in football and you came off a Super Bowl and you don't fucking have any draft capital for like 2 years. Like, okay, there's not much to check out. We know what's going on. But when you're a team that's kind of rebuilding, it does become interesting. I think I told you this yesterday. It's like, without preseason, you might not have had a Russell Wilson starting right away in his career over what was his name? Matt Flynn. Yeah. You might not have had, Geno Smith, winning a battle against Drew Lock. You might not have certain running backs, make the team like a third string guy that ends up actually producing a little bit for you throughout the season. Now, with all that said, that's why I said I'm not the biggest preseason guy. I'm not saying I sit there and I have to watch all 4 quarters and be locked in. But at some point, there are little parts of the game, like the beginning, I wanted to see, like we saw JSN make a couple plays early on. It's good to see because you're like, okay, well, against second stringers, he does seem a little bit above the competition, which is a very good sign. Because if you don't look above the competition, I don't know how you're going to translate to when you're playing against first strings. And there was a couple early plays, like I saw a play of Derek Hall and Mike Morris, who, if you listen to Pete Carroll speak, if you listen to former players like Michael Bennett's been talking about these guys a lot on Seattle Sports Radio, they're guys that they actually think are going to make an impact for the team. It's good to see them make an early impact, even on a preseason game. In comparison to the 3 years we had of LJ Collier, remember, like every time, like, well, he's getting better, instead of like you weren't getting very many good words about him.
Right.
You weren't seeing any production even in the preseason. At least with some of these guys, you see some production, and then that like, there is something.
You're listening to the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. Two brothers, George and Sammy, talk all things Seattle sports. Also, NBA. Please bring back our Supersonics.